Going to examine is how to make good scatter plots. Now, it's all well and good knowing how to make a scatter plot. It's quite simple. We're just using the data that we're given and we're plotting it on a graph. But to make good scatter plots, and Khan Academy will tell you here, all the scatter plots below display the data correctly, and that's not the problem. Which of them displays it best? So a good scatter plot, it tells you, uses a reasonable scale on both axes and puts the explanatory variable on the x-axis. Well, what is the explanatory variable? Right. So Carly owns an ice cream stand. She wants to predict how many ice cream cones she will sell as a function of the daily average high temperature each month. The data for the past 7 months is shown on the table below. Now, the big giveaway here, we talked about functions before, and when we've got as a function of the average daily. So that's your big giveaway right there, because that is the explanatory variable. So what explains how much she sells? The daily average temperature is what is driving this data here, right? So our x-axis is going to be the average high temperature. The cone sold is going to be the y-axis for starters. And then we're going to be looking for a decent scale. We want to have a scale that reaches probably on the x-axis from 0 to about 30. And on the y-axis, we're going to want to have a scale that reaches from 0 to about 500. So let's take a look at that data. All right. So first things, average high temperature is going to be on the x-axis. So we can eliminate these first two, because we can see right here that that is not what we've been given here. It's that these two are gone just because they're the wrong axes. So the two that we want to look at most of all is we want to look at graph C and graph D. We can see here what we discussed there was having the x-axis going from 0 to 30 would be a good scale, and the y-axis going from 0 to 500 would also be a good scale. The reason being that you've got your maximum and your minimum of this data, and those are the roundings of those two data points. So this graph D does not make sense in terms of that scale, just because the scale is way too large and your data is all crunched up in here. Okay, so graph C would be a good scatter plot. Okay. Once again, taking another look at those, the table below shows the age in years and the average daily internet usage in hours of a sample of people. So he wants to predict how long people use the internet each day based on their age. Based on their age is another way of saying as a function of their age. So the age is going to be the x-axis. So our x-axis is going to be the age. It's going to range from about 0 to 60, and our y-axis is going to range from 0 to 0.0 to about, let's say, 4 or 5, right? Okay, so let's take a look at that. Age is the x-axis. So we're going to just look at the graph A and graph B, because graph C and D already are using the incorrect axes. And it starts to get really obvious here, because if you see the data crunched up like this, that does not make sense. It's not a good scatter plot when it's crunched up here. You want to have it nicely spread out like this one here. We can see already, again, age is ranging from 0 to 60, and the internet usage rate ranging from 0 to 5. So that is a good scatter plot in graph A right there. We'll take a look at one more. And again, we're predict how much energy she will use to heat her home based on how cold it is outside. So the external temperature, right? The external temperature is your x-axis, right? Your y-axis is the gas used. Your range is going to be from 0 to about 13 on the x-axis, and from, well, 0 to, say, 20-something on the y-axis. Okay, so temperature is on the x-axis. Let's take a look at that. Temperatures on the x-axis, so we're going to be looking at B or D. And again, now it becomes obvious. We almost don't have to look at those scales, but we can see here again, 0 to 13, 0 to 25. These are the axes that the ranges we were given, and it's nicely spread out. So graph D is what we're going to go with there. Right. You certainly have enough to go on in that one there, so give it a try for yourself. Let me know how you get on.